Welcome to the World Lens Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Evans. Today, we are joined by someone whose title doesn't really do her justice. Alicia Wilson is the Vice President of Civic Engagement and Opportunity at Johns Hopkins University, and she's also a speaker at our upcoming Women Spanning the Globe conference on June 4th. Tickets are available right now at WTCI.org. Welcome to the show, Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you were able to do it. So I want to start by asking you to just introduce yourself to our audience. Your LinkedIn titles list things like attorney, strategic advisor, civic leader, but there's so much more to you.
Yeah, so really, at my base level, I'm a girl from Baltimore that has had tremendous opportunities and now sits as a vice president at Johns Hopkins University and seek and endeavor to find ways to contribute greatly to my community. I'm now vice president for Civic Engagement and Opportunity. I've had many different roles, but what I try to do is allow for the ribbon of service and impact and problem solving to really lead my work in whatever venue or place I'm able to serve.
Nice. I too am also just a girl from Baltimore. So, one thing I've heard you talk about in the past was the value of mentorships that you had in your career. Can you talk to me a little bit about the mentors you had in your life and how they've made a difference?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, mentorship has been so critical to my success. In so many ways, I've been blessed and honored not to have to walk this journey alone. And I mean, any part of the journey. Like I started getting mentored very young and seeking out mentors at a very young age. Some of those people are just been transformational for me. I think about when I was 15, having one of the first Black women partners at a major law firm in Baltimore, Ava Lice Booker, mentor me, just really being really critical to my success and being able to ultimately be guided along my journey. I've had amazing mentors like Freeman and Jackie Rabowski who have been just there for me and supporting me throughout my journey. Like Susan Leviton as a lawyer in the community, thinking about how to blend both the contributions of law, but also like a deep love for the community into something really powerful. So have just had tremendous leaders and people at all levels pour into me, and I just feel very blessed to have had that as a part of my journey.
So, the work that you do, investing in people and places, sometimes doesn't produce results right away. After a big announcement of a deal or an investment, you end up playing the long game. How do you stay motivated and how do you keep other people motivated to invest in these longer projects?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. So as I've been able to, you know, do some of the investment in people and places, like I can, because I've been doing this work for, I'm young, but I've been doing it for a bit of time. I've been able to see the arc, and it happens much sooner than you would imagine. And so I'm never doing one thing at one time. I have many different fires, pots on the fire, which allows for me to see change incrementally, but also change in different things that are stages and phases. I would say that I stay motivated by being hyper engaged in the journey of the project. And so many people take a lot of pride and joy in the ribbon cutting or the big announcement. But I really take a lot of joy in the journey, like when we are doing really well, and sometimes when we're not, like what we're learning, what we're evolving, and like celebrating the small wins is how I keep my team motivated, how I keep myself motivated, realizing that the outcome that many people get to see, on the front page of the paper or in the headlines, like that took a long arc. It usually takes a lot of contribution and just also that just keeps you humble, like understanding that these things, these things that many people think happened overnight, don't happen overnight. Actually, nothing happens overnight. That's good.
Right.
Um, but everything that is going to be sustainable, that's going to have longevity, that is going to be what you want to be a part of your legacy, takes time to build.
Agreed. I could not agree more. As you mentioned before, you're a Baltimore native, and at WTCI, we're always trying to connect people who are proud to represent Baltimore and Maryland. But sometimes we get that skeptical look when you bring up Baltimore, usually from people who know nothing about us except The Wire. What do you say to these people who ask, why are you still here instead of going to a bigger market like DC or New York?
I would say the Baltimore has, I think, a competitive advantage that can't even be matched by New York or DC. And I'm not sort of a rose-colored glasses person, although I am very positive. I'm just factual and based in an understanding of how Baltimore punches above its weight on many different fronts, including housing, the ability for someone, regardless of their background, really to have a trajectory to be able to buy a home here, really have a trajectory to be, to go from where I came from, East Baltimore, to being a vice president at Hopkins, to the trajectory, the businesses that we have from the small businesses that are like the lifeblood of this community to the large businesses and institutions like Johns Hopkins and T. Rowe Price that call this place home. I think we just have a significant amount of things that contribute to like the uniqueness of Baltimore, including a authentic fabric of neighborhoods and families and institutions that are iconic, but real and tangible and have been able to persist over the test of time. And so I just feel very proud to be from this city. I feel somewhat sad for people who only get to see The Wire and think that that's the whole story of this city. It's a
Right.
snapshot, but not even a real motion picture, right? It is a moment in time and a story that is a reality for part of Baltimore and part and that's part of our story, but not the sum total of our story by any means. Just like NYPD or any of those stories is not the full story of those cities. But sometimes I think unfairly, Baltimore gets typecast into one dimension, but it's such a multi-dimensional, dynamic, loving, charming city that once everybody figures it out, we won't be able to hold all the people that will want to come to Baltimore.
Yeah, so true. So you rejoined Hopkins earlier this year, but you're a boomerang employee. You were there from 2019 to 23. What brought you back?
I call myself a Dorothy employee, more like there's no place like home, like she thought in Wizard of Oz. And when I left Hopkins in 2023, I actually went on to the board of Hopkins. So left my seat as an employee and then went into being a trustee. And I I care deeply about Hopkins. I think it is an amazing institution. I believe it contributes to not only Baltimore, but this region and the world, in fact. Anywhere I go, there are a couple of things that people talk about when I'm out there. They talk about the Ravens, the Orioles, the Inner Harbor, and Johns Hopkins. And I feel so blessed to be working under the leadership of Ron Daniels alongside, so many amazing, tremendous leaders and so there is no place like home. There's no place like Baltimore. There's no place like Hopkins. And I feel really blessed to get to be at this institution that is doing so well, but also does tremendous amount of good.
Yeah, I can't help but notice the parallel between your original tenure and now. There were challenges posed by COVID
Yeah.
19 pandemic, and then the headwinds we're facing right now with the Trump administration. how do you make a difference at an institution like this when, you have so many challenges to overcome?
I had this conversation today with one of my colleagues. They say you have the timing to come in crisis, right? And um, I do think that that's a unique skill set and a unique gift, and my timing maybe is impeccable. I think that when you are confronted with significant crises, whether they be man-made, man-driven, or not, right? Um, the reality is that you get really focused on what really matters. And you can get really focused on how to build when money can't solve your problems, right? It's relationships, it's connectivity, it's utilizing and harnessing the very heart and soul of an institution to still contribute even in the midst of a storm. It's the drumbeat of like how you're able to like put one foot in front of the other. And in COVID, there were just the solutions in COVID money could not buy, right? It was, I mean, yes, it could buy masks and it could buy, but it was really information and vital information and coming together and figuring out food systems and figuring out how to lift up our small businesses and how to drive more impact with every dollar that we spend as an institution into our local economy. And now as we face, tremendous cuts that really are quite more, are more unpredictable than
Yeah.
COVID, we just find ourselves having to band together. And, I think in challenging times, you start to understand what really matters. You also start to really figure out who your friends are. You also figure out what's core, what's mission. You also figure out like what you can't cut morally and within your soul. It's like, what's the soul of the organization? And you get to see the strength of leadership. And I think, leaders matter at all times. Leaders matter really, really. Our leadership is really important during tough times, and I feel I'm happy to serve and happy to be a part of this institution, which I think is critical to Baltimore, critical to this world at this time, and to be able to offer any support I can.
So, I also want to ask you about grant funding cuts from the Trump
Mhm.
administration. So, grants from NIH and HHS were frozen or cut, and it's had a ripple effect through higher education and research. How can organizations like Hopkins continue to fund the valuable work that's being done, but it's now being held up?
I think this is like the $1 million question, and um, it's a hard one. I mean, NIH, HHS, our research, the research arm of the federal government, the compact between universities and the federal government, which go back to, after World War II, when, the United States had its epiphany that it needed to be a leader and stand up and really invest in significantly into research. And that's when you start to see these partnerships. This is difficult. These are difficult times because there is no philanthropy magic bullet that's going to fill that hole. And so I think Hopkins, all the institutions that are facing these cuts are really trying to figure this out and figure out how to do what's morally right, what's fiscally right, and really try to preserve these institutions in the years to come, which, you know, some institutions, I think, Hopkins will fare better than others, but there are institutions that are really, really going to, not be in existence in because of what's happening. And there's research that just won't come back. Scientists that are not going to. That I just think we can't even begin to imagine what
Yeah.
the ramification and effects are of what's being done and the impact to institutions like NIH, National Science Foundation, HHS, all of those institutions, what that will mean.
Yeah, that's very true. Usually on this podcast, we often fixate on challenges facing the world and businesses. But what's something positive that's going on at Hopkins right now?
I think, I mean, there's a lot of positive things. And, you only have to, I mean, I feel really, really blessed to be on a college campus and to be at a medical institution. And I feel like, the two things, they're about healing and educating, right? Which are just like, what a beautiful combination and what a beautiful thing to be a part of. And some of the positive things that are happening at the institution is you just see us continuing charging forward with focusing on Baltimore, focusing on our spend, focusing on making sure every dollar that we spend that we maximize the opportunity that it can be spent in this city. The care that our institution continues to have the commitment to live near your work. So helping people own their first home, which is exciting and thrilling for me. You still people see our researchers like still at the edge of discovery, like our nursing school of nursing that has been focused on neighborhood nursing in the Johnston Square community. So you see so many. I get to have a front door to so many great things. Last week I was at the Johns Hopkins tutoring program where I got to talk with families and young people who are come twice a week to get tutored by undergraduate students at the institution. Like these kids were having fun and excelling and watching their math scores go up and their reading scores up and knowing that we can still make a difference. So like there's a lot of positive things happening
Hmm.
even in the midst of a storm.
Love that. Looking ahead to the next 5 to 10 years, what emerging trends or shifts do you see in how institutions like Hopkins approach civic engagement and community partnerships?
I think that this I think that in the 5 to 10 years you will see institutions and I think Hopkins will be like heralded as a leader
Hmm.
in not just Baltimore, as in the world around community partnerships and the leverage of research into practical application in communities, combined with the genius that is coming from community leaders. Some of the most exciting work I get to work on is really making that connection happen through community and our academic prowess and bringing that both of those geniuses to bear to solve real problems in the community. Like it is, I think that's going to be earth shattering. And I think institutions are going to, by necessity, call upon the great resources that they have. And our resources are research and intellect across disciplines and expertise, and match that with the brilliance and the expertise that sits at a ground level at the community level, and allowing for that to create some of the most innovative solutions in our community. I think that's going to be our hallmark. I think that's going to be what we will be known for, and I think it's what people will follow our example in.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that you're going to be speaking at Women Spanning the Globe on June 4th. Can you give us a little sneak preview of what it is you'll be talking about?
Oh wow, wow. Oh no, this is like like too many sneak previews. They won't come for the whole thing. But yes, uh I'm gonna be talking about leadership as a woman,
Hmm.
leadership at scale, the values, the importance, tips, lessons learned, how to evolve, how to think about the evolution of you personally, but also the evolving world. So I'll be touching on a number of different points during my chat, but
Hmm.
also thinking about our institutions and what should we be doing during this time to move them forward. So that's enough of sneak pre, so I don't give it all away.
Well, I know I'm looking forward to it. Women's is one of my favorite events that we host. Not just because I'm a woman, but I think it's just really, really a good event that we have. But thank you so much for joining me today. If people want to get in contact with you, where should they go?
They can follow me on all the .coms. I'm Alicia Wilson on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. But also you feel free to reach out to me. My email is also public, so it's alicia.wilson@jhu.edu. So please follow me, but also please reach out. Happy to engage with others who are trying to drive impact. And if you love Baltimore, that is the cherry on top.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. Alicia will be speaking at the upcoming Women's Spanning the Globe conference on June 4th, so you can see her there. Tickets are available now. And you can learn more about the event and other things that we have going on at WTCI.org or follow us on all social channels at WTC Institute. We'll see you next time.